Stefon Diggs just call out the Bucs wide receiver room? That's what we're going to be talking about on today's show. You're watching Bucs Breakdown presented by PrizePicks. My name is Reid Bartkus. Wherever you're watching, whenever you're watching, hope you're having a great day today. Now, Stefon Diggs made some very intense comments on a YouTube channel where he said there's no wide receiver 2 better than him. Quote said, "You can't name a number 2 better than me." And Diggs is arguably the top free agent wide receiver out there right now. Not that the Bucs are looking to sign a wide receiver right now, but I figured we had to talk about it because this is a very serious and strong accusation from a player that is unsigned after going over 1,000 yards last year, was on a Super Bowl team, basically their wide receiver 1 on a Super Bowl finalist, runner-up. It's a very interesting accusation when he's unsigned after all of that. So it's like, makes you think, well, is he better than wide receiver 2s all across the NFL? And when I think about it, we lost our wide receiver 1. Wide receiver 1 right now is sort of up in the air with Chris Godwin or Emeka Egbuka. We'll talk about that in a second, but let's see what Stefon Diggs had to say. He said, "My opinion, I can compete with anybody, but take those top wide receivers as your ones, right? You can't name a number 2 better than me." Every wide receiver 2 in the league, T. Higgins, J-Mo, there's a lot of people that I would take over Stefon Diggs right now. Now, I will say Stefon Diggs is a very good wide receiver, and he would be probably a top 5, top 10 wide receiver 2 in the NFL, but every wide receiver 2 in the league? Come on, Stefon. Let's be real. Let's be real. There's not a number 2 on a team. Let's presumably give people the credit and just say, okay, you want to take the number 1 spot away, name your number 2 receiver right now and tell him how much he makes. Tell me how much he makes. And then my last question is he better than me? Yeah. I think so. Our wide receiver 2 right now, technically, quote unquote, is Jalen McMillan. But I think realistically, if you talk about just the talent, I would say Chris Godwin is wide receiver 2. Emeka Egbuka is wide receiver 1. But at the same time, if you don't know which one to pick in terms of the wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2, some people think it's Chris Godwin in the Chat Sports office. Some people think it's Emeka Egbuka. I think it's Egbuka. But, I mean, looking at what Stefon Diggs did last year on a Super Bowl finalist team in the New England Patriots, he had 85 receptions for just over 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns, and only 2 drops. Yeah, being the best wide receiver 2 on a team, I could see that. But, every single wide receiver 2 out there, I mean, Chris Godwin, if he's our wide receiver 2, I'm taking Godwin. But let me know, do you agree with Diggs' comments? Type A for agree, type D for disagree, because it feels like a very wide accusation, right? I'm better than every wide receiver 2 out there. I have my thoughts on that, but I like that he's, a confident person in his game. And I think when you go for 1,000 yards on a Super Bowl team, that should say something. But I don't think it's a question of his on-field production of why he's maybe unsigned or better than wide receiver 2s across the NFL. Now we're going to talk about that on the second half of today's show, but I get to give a huge shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is PrizePicks. Get started with PrizePicks today. It is the best place to watch sports and win some money at the same time. Now, today's show is made possible by PrizePicks, America's #1 sports picks app, as well as mine since 2022. The World Cup is coming to a close, but you still got a couple games to be able to get and win some money on. So, the app is super simple to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. With the social feeds feature, you can actually follow me on the app at Reid Bartkus and check out all my lineups. The lineup that I'm rolling with for the next upcoming World Cup games is Harry Kane, more than half shots on target. So he just lost to Argentina. He's going to be going out there in that third place game and kicking all over the place trying to score. So I have him, and that is a goblin, which makes it a little bit easier to win. And then Kylian Mbappe got him to score, and then Lionel Messi got him to score or have an assist. I feel like that's pretty much a good lineup to go with. Now, that is $10 to win $37.50. If you guys want to ride with me, or if you want to make your own, just do it over on PrizePicks. And if you're a new user, you can download the PrizePicks app today with the link in the comments and description of today's show and use code HMA. You'll get $50 in lineups. Yes, I said $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Don't forget that's code HMA to get that $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. So let's take a look at Stefon Diggs as the player, right? Because I said the on-field production, 85 receptions last year for over 1,000 yards. And then back in Houston, he did get hurt, so he only played 8 games. And he had almost 500 yards, averaging around the same amount of yards. He only had 2 drops still and 3 touchdowns. In Buffalo, obviously, we know what he could do with Josh Allen, and that's why he's become one of the better wide receivers in the NFL. So it's hard to look past the production, right? It's hard to look past the 1,000-yard seasons, the very explosive route running, and what he can do on the field. It's hard to look past that, isn't it? Or is it? Because I don't think his on-field production is why he's not being signed right now, right? Because he had a very serious. If he really thinks, and it's true that he is the best wide receiver 2 in the NFL, he should be on a team right now. Teams should be going crazy. I mean, the Dolphins should be going crazy about trying to get him on the squad, right? His off-field distractions and personality might be too much for teams right now. Now, let's take it to Jeremy Fowler from ESPN. He said, I'm hearing he's going to have a market closer to training camp. I was told that at least 5 teams that need a wide receiver have been checking in. They're going to have to deal with the baggage and the headlines. They are what they are. So, obviously, Stefon Diggs has a lot of off-field stuff that's going on, but this is a Bucs YouTube channel, right? Stefon Diggs has his stuff that's going on. He made this accusation, and it allowed me to bring up the fact of, okay, let's look at our wide receiver 2. Who is it, right? We showed this depth chart earlier in the video, but who is our wide receiver 1? Who's our wide receiver 2? I personally think it's Emeka Egbuka. So, with Chris Godwin being our wide receiver 2, let's see what he stacks up against with Stefon Diggs. Stefon Diggs, we saw his stats earlier. Let's take a look at Chris Godwin's last fully healthy season where he played the entire season, right? 2023, Baker Mayfield's first year with the squad. He had 130 receptions. Oh, I switched that. I'm sorry. 83 receptions on 130 targets. That's my fault. But you guys get the idea. 1,000 yards, around what Stefon Diggs had, averaging more yards a catch, only 2 touchdowns and 5 drops, but there was a lot of production with Mike Evans as well in 2023. So let's be real. The Diggs versus Godwin is tough to pick, right? The on-field production, the stats, what they can do on the field, it's very similar. They actually both play the same position, basically, that slot receiver position. I think Chris Godwin does it a little bit better when he's healthy than Stefon Diggs, but Godwin provides more than just the on-field production. He provides that leadership, the veteran experience. Yes, Stefon Diggs has that veteran experience, but the value that Chris Godwin gives you off the field, in the locker room, in the community, is way better than Diggs can give. I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk bad about Chris Godwin. He's never had a bad story about him. He's a great, great guy. Not saying that Stefon Diggs isn't a great guy, but there's not headlines about Chris Godwin in the newspaper with things going on in his personal life, right? There's good headlines about Chris Godwin going out helping the community with his, foundations and stuff. So it's I would rather have Chris Godwin, the entire player on and off the field, healthy than Stefon Diggs. So when he says that he's better than every wide receiver 2 out there, it's just calling out Chris Godwin or Emeka Egbuka or any of the wide receivers in this Bucs wide receiver group. So I wanted to get on here and give the video to you guys because if you think Godwin is better than Stefon Diggs, spam TB for Tampa Bay in the comment section. Because if it's Emeka Egbuka, even if you think Jalen McMillan is wide receiver 2 on this squad, type TB. I want to see as many TBs in the comment section as possible because I think Godwin's better than Diggs, and you should as well. So I want to see as many as I can in that comment section down there below. Thank you so much for sticking with us to the end of today's show. My name is Reid Bartkus. Thank you so much for watching today's show. Make sure to hit the subscribe button for free, fun Bucs content all year long. And as always, fire the cannon.